So I just checked out the new Christmas movie starring Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans that tells the story of Santa Claus that gets kidnapped. Now the head of security of the North Pole has to team up with a bounty hunter in order for them to save Christmas. So going into this movie, I didn't really have a lot of expectations because the trailers for this movie really haven't done anything to get me excited or on board with this movie. It looked like just a generic run-of-the-mill Dwayne Johnson movie that we've seen many times before, especially in the last 10 years, and that was nothing really new or different that we were going to be getting with this movie. All I wanted this movie to do was just be a mindless, fun adventure that we could have for the holiday season. And judging by the reviews that have been coming out over the past couple of weeks, it sounded like it wasn't going to live up to those Yuletime carols that we would be expecting from a movie like this. And quite frankly, I thought this movie was mediocre at its finest. This movie is tailor made for people that go to the movies every once in a while or really don't criticize movies as much as film fans, because this movie really doesn't do anything new or different. It's just your generic Dwayne Johnson movie that you've seen over the last 10 years, just in a different setting. And quite frankly, this movie didn't really do anything to get me excited for the Christmas season at all. While this movie takes place on Christmas, it really doesn't utilize the season as much as I really wanted them to. You do have some characters here and there that are kind of involved in the Christmas spirit. You have Krampus, you have the snowman, and you have a couple of other characters that I thought the makeup effect on some of them absolutely worked for me. And I thought that they fleshed out this universe in a fun and unique way that I wasn't really expecting. But beyond that, there's really nothing in here that, quite frankly, got me super excited or super thrilled for the Christmas season. I think if you are going to be spending your time inside on a snowy day, then I think this movie is fun to have in the background. Some people will have fun with this movie, other people will just find it generic and just one of the worst films that they either seen or one of the worst films of the year, and that's exactly where this movie kind of lies. While I enjoyed the makeup effects on a couple of the creatures, I like the way that they set up this world. Beyond that, there's nothing in here that makes it stand out amongst a lot of the action movies that we've seen in the past couple of years or any other Christmas movies that we've seen in the past couple of years. You have Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans, who have both lost the meaning of Christmas in both different ways. You have Dwayne Johnson, that is Santa's helper or security guard, and he sees the naughty list grow every single year to the point where he's just lost faith in kids. And so he's just ready to resign being Santa's helper and wanting to move on. Except you have JK Simmons as Santa Claus, and he tries to convince him to look at the positive sides, that yeah, there are a lot of more naughty kids this year than they are in past years, but he's still trying to make him look at the positive sides. And speaking of JK Simmons as Santa Claus, I think he is really the standout of this movie because we haven't seen him as Santa Claus, and whenever he's on screen, is firing on all cylinders. I think he is great as Santa Claus. He definitely got into shape to play a different kind of Santa, and I thought it worked for this movie. Since the movie revolves around him getting kidnapped, he doesn't really have a lot of screen time, which is a real big bummer because whenever we get the moments of him as Santa Claus on screen, I thought those moments worked. The quips that he has between him and Dwayne Johnson, I thought was one of the better moments of this movie. But on the other hand, you have Chris Evans, who lost the Christmas spirit. He doesn't really believe in Santa. He's been let down before, and he is a bit of a deadbeat father, which makes him really unlikable. And that's really the biggest bummer of this movie, because if you can't like one of your leads or co-leads, then there is no point in you wanting to go through this adventure with both of them. And the chemistry between them at times worked, other times it didn't, and it just felt like nobody was clocking in for work. It looked like everybody was clocking in for a paycheck, which I'm not really mad about. Get your money the way that you want to, but it just felt like a lot of these characters were just generic people that we've seen many times before. You have Lucy Liu, who has a bit of a role but really doesn't stand out amongst a lot of the people. Some of the CGI in here worked, but once we get towards the end of the movie, it just felt a little bit sloppy, and the final fight takes place at night, so it can mask a lot of the CGI that is really hard to see. But moments like that didn't really work for me. And don't get me started with the villain of this film. Their motivations and the thing they are trying to do is just beyond ridiculous. This movie is exactly what you think it's going to be going into it. If you've seen the trailer and you said, I've seen this movie before, many times before, guess what? It's exactly what you think it's going to be. But if you just want to be able to spend time with your family and check out a new Christmas movie, I think you can do better. But if you have kids, I think they're going to come out enjoying it because there are some fun action sequences. I like some of the gadgets that The Rock uses in order for him to fight or get around. So a lot of the technology that they use worked for me. And I kind of wish we not only just utilize a lot of those gadgets a lot more in this movie, but I kind of wish they incorporated the Christmas season just a tad bit more. It just felt like an afterthought, and they didn't really put too much effort into the Christmas season. They tried to inject some heart in here, which at times worked, but other times it just felt like they were trying to take it a little bit more serious. And with a movie like this, I think it's fine if you're trying to turn your brain off for 2 hours, but whenever you get those serious moments, that's when it starts to lose a little bit more steam. I did chuckle every now and then. There are some creative jokes in here that I really enjoyed, but overall, this is a movie that, quite frankly, I'm not going to be revisiting anytime soon. I don't think this is a movie that I'm going to be watching every Christmas season. Maybe every other Christmas season, I'll pop it on just in case I'm really bored and want to turn off my brain for 2 hours. But overall, this is a movie that is perfectly fine. If you want to take the family to see a new Christmas movie and you haven't seen the best Christmas pageant ever, like me, then I think this movie is serviceable to say the least. But other than that, you can just wait for this movie to come out on streaming. But those are my thoughts on Red One. Have you guys checked it out? Are you planning on checking this film out? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.